At the company mixer, I announced that I was getting married. My girlfriend of 7 years, Vanessa Page, suddenly charged over and splashed a glass of red wine violently across my face. She screamed, "You're trying to force my hand. Do you think you can trap me into marriage with public pressure?" The entire room gasped, whispering in shock. Calmly, I reached into my pocket and slowly pulled out a wedding invitation. The bride's name stung her eyes, but it wasn't hers. The cold Cabernet dripped down my temple, sticky and blinding. The acidity of the wine, mixed with the scent of Vanessa's expensive designer perfume, exploded in my nose, creating a nauseating stench. The noise of the private dining room vanished the instant the glass made a dull thud against my cheek. Time seemed to hit pause. Dozens of eyes fixed on me like spotlights, scrutinizing, curious, and some holding a trace of schadenfreude. I could feel the wine trickling down my jawline, drop by drop, landing on my brand-new white dress shirt, blooming into dark red stains that looked like dried blood. "Lucas, what is the meaning of this?" Vanessa's shriek tore through the silence. Her voice was shrill with extreme rage, carrying that tone she always used, the indignation of someone wronged by the whole world. "Announcing a wedding in front of all these colleagues. Are you trying to use public opinion to corner me? Trying to kidnap my life with a marriage license? I'm telling you, I'm not the kind of woman you can control." She stood opposite me, her chest heaving, her perfectly made-up face flushed with agitation, the fire in her eyes practically burning holes through me. The anger in my own chest ignited like gasoline, exploding outward until every limb tingled with heat. 7 years. Every hysterical outburst, every unreasonable demand, every time she devalued my sacrifices, it all became fuel, burning my rationality down to a precarious thread. I almost wanted to grab her wrist and ask her who exactly had been holding whom hostage. But I didn't. I simply raised my hand slowly, very slowly, and wiped the sticky wine from my eyelids with my thumb. The movement was deliberate, slow enough for everyone in the room to see the humiliating wine stain on my face and the dead calm in my eyes. I didn't look at her, nor did I bother wiping the mess off my expensive suit. My hand reached steadily into the inner pocket of my jacket. Seeing my movement, the anger on Vanessa's face froze for a second, immediately replaced by heavy mockery. She probably thought I was reaching for a ring, about to stage some cliché prodigal son begs for forgiveness scene. After all, for the past 7 years, that's exactly what I'd done. No matter how she trampled on my dignity, as long as she shed a few tears and said, "I just feel insecure," I would surrender immediately. Unfortunately for her, she guessed wrong this time. My fingertips grazed a stiff card. The delicate, gold-embossed texture felt like a cold talisman, instantly suppressing the surging emotions in my heart. I pulled out the invitation. The navy blue envelope shimmered with a quiet dignity under the restaurant's warm yellow lights. I didn't speak. I just used my thumb to slowly slide the envelope open. SHHHKT. The slight friction sound seemed exceptionally loud in the silent room. I unfolded the invitation, my movements as elegant as if I were displaying a work of art, and held it up directly facing Vanessa, allowing the colleagues stretching their necks around us to catch a glimpse. The gold serif font was neat and solemn. Groom, Lucas Cole. The bride's name was clearly printed next to it. Sarah Quinn. The mockery on Vanessa's face froze instantly. Her expression shifted from contempt to shock, then to blankness, and finally twisted into a hideous look of disbelief. Her lips trembled as if an invisible hand were strangling her throat. She couldn't utter a single syllable. Her beautiful eyes were glued to the name Sarah Quinn, as if she wanted to burn 2 holes through the cardstock. The room fell into an even weirder silence. Then came the uncontrollable, tidal wave of buzzing whispers. "Sarah Quinn? Who's that? Oh my God, the bride isn't Vanessa? Haven't they been together for 7 years? What's going on? Did Lucas cheat?" Meeting those probing gazes, I calmly retracted the invitation and carefully closed it, as if it were a precious treasure. Finally, I lifted my eyes to look at Vanessa, watching her face completely lose control from shock and rage. My voice wasn't loud, but it was like ice, every word smashing in her heart. "We broke up 6 months ago, Vanessa." The sentence was like a thunderclap exploding over her head. She began to tremble violently, the accumulated rage and unvented shock causing her to lose all reason. "Impossible," she screamed, her voice piercing. "You're lying. You made that up to cover for that bitch. You're slandering me." She lunged at me like a mad woman, nails bared, aiming for the invitation in my hand. She wanted to tear it to shreds, to deny the reality she couldn't accept. I simply sidestepped, easily avoiding her. Watching her stumble and claw at empty air because of her momentum, seeing that pathetic posture, the gloom that had weighed on my heart for 7 years finally began to dissipate. I handed the gold-stamped invitation to my assistant, Leo, standing beside me. "Keep this safe. Don't let it get dirty," I said, my voice remaining calm. Leo paused for a second, then hurriedly took it with great care, as if holding a hot potato, his eyes darting complicatedly between Vanessa and me. Vanessa regained her balance and turned her head. Her bloodshot eyes were like poisoned daggers, glaring dead at me. "Lucas, you bastard. Explain yourself. Who the hell is Sarah Quinn?" I ignored her roaring, looking straight at her twisted face. My voice wasn't high, but I ensured everyone present could hear every word clearly. 7 years of a relationship. You always talk about it, and you always love to say, "I didn't treat you well." I paused, watching her stunned slightly at my words. "Then let me ask you, Vanessa, do you remember what you gave me for my last birthday?" Vanessa's pupils shrank violently. She opened her mouth, but couldn't say a thing. Her eyes began to flicker and dart away, trying to find a crack in my expression or a topic to refute. She didn't remember. I chuckled lightly, a sound laced with a biting mockery that felt foreign even to me. "You don't remember. Of course you don't. Because that day, you were in Tulum with your girlfriends, enjoying the sun and sand. You posted a carousel of 9 edited vacation photos on Instagram with the caption, 'Life is worth it.' Meanwhile, I was alone in the ER on an 4-drip for acute gastroenteritis. My voice was light, as if recounting a story that had nothing to do with me. Yet every word was like a small hammer, shattering the mask of innocence on Vanessa's face. A stifled gasp rippled through the crowd. Mike from accounting, whom I was close with, couldn't help but whisper to the person next to him. I remember that. Lucas was definitely hospitalized. We asked where Vanessa was, and she said she was on a business trip abroad. Vanessa heard it, and her face went ghastly pale. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, she immediately shrieked a denial. "That was because work was crazy. It's you. You weren't considered enough. You always had emergencies when I was busiest." "Is that so?" I looked at her coldly. "In 7 years, you used excuses like 'I'm not ready for marriage, I need security in my career, and aren't we good how we are?' to reject my proposals no less than 5 times. Every single time, you gaslight me, asking, 'Is it that you don't love me enough, so you have to trap me with marriage?' Making me reflect on whether I wasn't doing enough. Now, I'm giving you what you wanted. I'm no longer trapping you with marriage. Why are you playing the victim now?" My questions were like a series of slaps across her face. Vanessa's complexion turned from white to green, then green to red. Rendered speechless, she resorted to the most malicious speculation to fight back. "Did you hook up with that slut Sarah a long time ago?" "Lucas, I really underestimated you. You learned how to line up a rebound so quickly. No, this is cheating. You cheated on me." Her words were venomous and left no room for retreat, attempting to firmly jam the scumbag hat onto my head. The scene spiraled completely out of control. Colleagues' whispers turned into open discussion. Some looked at Vanessa with disdain, while others backed away from her hysteria, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. She desperately threw mud at me, trying to drag me into the swamp and destroy my reputation in the ugliest way possible. Watching her make a spectacle of herself, the scar she had pressed down on in the depths of my heart for 7 years was ripped open, bloody and raw. But I didn't feel pain, only a desolate self-mockery and an unprecedented clarity. I looked at her and said, clearly and word for word, "Vanessa, you were the one who asked for the breakup. 6 months ago, in this very restaurant, at this same table, you said you needed a soulmate who understood you better, who could give you spiritual resonance. You said I was too practical, that I couldn't give you the romance and space you wanted. I said, okay. I set you free. What? Now that your soulmate can't satisfy you, you remember your practical ex-boyfriend?" As soon as the words left my mouth, Vanessa's face completely drained of blood. It was as if all the strength had been siphoned from her body. She stumbled, looking at me in disbelief. She likely never imagined that I, always gentle, always suffering in silence, would speak so bluntly, so mercilessly. Vanessa was thoroughly enraged by my counterattack. When all pretenses were torn away, and all lies punctured, all she had left was raw madness and a desire for destruction. She yanked out her phone, her fingers trembling so violently from rage she could barely hold it. "Fine, Lucas. If you want to play dirty, don't blame me for what happens." Her voice was shrill, carrying the resolve of mutual destruction. 7 years of a relationship. What did you take me for? Trash to be used and discarded? I'm going to show everyone your true colors. She tapped furiously on the screen, the camera haphazardly snapping a blurry photo of me, face stained with wine, looking disheveled. Then, she turned the phone screen toward the crowd as if holding up a manifesto of war against me. Look, everyone look. This is your company's so-called middle management. A sanctimonious hypocrite. A cheat who betrayed his girlfriend of 7 years. The post she drafted had a sensational headline, the content twisting black into white, framing herself as a ruthlessly abandoned victim while painting me as a traitor deserving of death. I narrowed my eyes, instantly understanding her intent. She wanted to weaponize public opinion, striking first to nail me to the pillar of shame before the truth could come to light. It was her specialty, using emotion to incite the mob and moral kidnapping to crush opponents. My mind raced, calculating a counter-strategy, my brain icy calm. Just in this tense, hair-trigger moment, a clear and firm female voice rang out from the restaurant entrance. Ms. Page, do you have any evidence to prove Lucas cheated? The voice wasn't loud, but like a cool spring, it instantly doused the heat in the room. Everyone's gaze, including mine and Vanessa's, snapped to the door. A woman in a beige trench coat walked in slowly. Her posture was upright, her aura intellectual and refined. She wore minimal makeup, looking exceptionally clean and fresh. Her eyes were open and calm, showing no panic, simply observing the chaotic scene before her. It was the bride on the invitation, Sarah Quinn. My heart, in that moment, felt like it was gently cradled by a warm hand. Sarah's gaze swept the room, finally landing on me. Ignoring the shocked and probing stares, she walked straight toward me. She reached my side, naturally slipping her arm through mine, then took a clean handkerchief from her bag. Gently, carefully, she wiped the semi-dried wine stains from my cheek. Her movements were so intimate, so matter-of-fact, as if we had done this 1,000 times. The faint scent of gardenias lingered at the tip of my nose, chasing away the nauseating smell of wine and perfume. When Vanessa saw Sarah appear, her pupils contracted sharply. Her expression froze, as if she'd been paralyzed. She had probably imagined what my new partner would look like, but she definitely hadn't expected Sarah to appear right in the middle of the battlefield with such poise. Nor did she expect Sarah's class and demeanor to far outshine her own. Sarah finished cleaning my face before slowly turning to the pale Vanessa. Her tone remained calm, but carried an irrefutable power. Ms. Page, Lucas and I got together 3 months after he completely broke up with you. Every one of our dates has a verifiable timeline, and we have mutual friends who can testify. She paused, her gaze sharpening, piercing straight into Vanessa. On the other hand, Ms. Page, from what I know, during your relationship with Lucas, you were quite close with a male best friend named Tyler, weren't you? You went to late-night movies together, took trips out of town, and he was even seen entering and leaving your apartment late at night, while Lucas was on business trips. To save face for you, and for the sake of your 7 years together, Lucas chose to tolerate it and trust you. But that does not mean you can use his tolerance as capital to invert the truth and bite back. Sarah's words were like thunder on a clear day, exploding clearly in everyone's ears, especially the phrase, male best friend. It was like a precision-guided missile, directly destroying Vanessa's last line of psychological defense. Her face turned sheet white in an instant, drained of all color. She swayed uncontrollably, looking ready to collapse. She was completely stunned. Sarah gave Vanessa no chance to breathe. She pulled out her own phone, tapped the screen a few times, and brought up several clear screenshots with dates. This is the day after Lucas broke up with you. He was in a bad place, so a few mutual friends, and I asked him out to clear his head. Here are the posts we made on social media. Time, location, attendees, all clear. This is our first dinner alone, 1 month after you broke up. This is the day we made it official, 3 months after your breakup. Sarah turned her phone screen toward the surrounding colleagues, her voice clear. All timelines are public and transparent. There is no overlap, no cheating, and no immediate rebound. Watching Sarah display the evidence calmly and methodically, a warm current surged through me. I added, Vanessa, you initiated the breakup. Less than a week later, you posted a photo with that Mr. Sterling, the one you said understood you better, with the caption New Beginnings. You hid that post from me, but you forgot we have many mutual friends. Now, why bother playing the abandoned victim and making false accusations here? As soon as I finished, people in the crowd immediately pulled out their phones, scrolling furiously. Soon, someone gasped, I see it. Under that cheating ex-post Vanessa just made, people are already commenting. Someone asked, "Is there a plot twist?" Oh my god, the new bride is hardcore. She dropped the receipts directly. The wind of public opinion reversed dramatically in just a few minutes. Vanessa panicked completely. Her hands trembling, she tried to delete the post she had just sent to attack me. But it was too late. Screenshots and shares were spreading like a virus. The fire she lit was starting to burn her instead. Sarah continued to press the advantage, eyeing her coldly. "Ms. Page, we not only have the timeline of your relationship with Mr. Sterling, but also evidence of behavior crossing the line of friendship during your relationship with Lucas, including chat logs and transfer records. Your slander and defamation of Lucas today constitute libel. We reserve the right to pursue legal action against you." The words "legal action" were the final straw that broke Vanessa. Her composure collapsed completely, and she let out a sharp shriek. You two ganged up to bully me. Lucas, you got this woman to attack me. You're cruel." She started crying and making a scene like a shrew, disregarding her image, trying to salvage some pitiful dignity by throwing a tantrum. But my heart had hardened. I waved to the restaurant manager, standing at the door. "Please call security and escort this emotionally unstable lady out. She's disturbing our party." Soon, 2 tall security guards walked over, flanking the hysterical Vanessa. "I'm not leaving. Lucas, you son of a bitch. You'll rot in hell." Vanessa's curses echoed in the restaurant, but no one sympathized with her anymore. Everyone's eyes were filled with disdain and disgust. The moment she was forcibly dragged out of the private room, the whole world felt clean. The atmosphere of the gathering shifted from gossipy shock to understanding and support for Sarah and me. Mike walked over and patted my shoulder heavily. "Lucas, brother, you suffered. This marriage. You made the right call." Other colleagues came up, raising their glasses. "Manager Cole, congratulations." "Ms. Quinn, you were amazing. Wishing you a happy marriage." I held Sarah's hand, feeling the warmth and strength from her palm, my emotions a mix of everything. I looked at her and whispered, "Thank you." Sarah smiled at me, a smile like the warm winter sun. "We're partners, aren't we?" That night, Vanessa's post accusing me was drowned out by countless plot twist comments and screenshots. Her behavior, cheating first, accusing later, began to spread rapidly through our shared social circles. A PR crisis belonging solely to her had officially begun. After seeing off all the colleagues, Sarah and I returned to our newly furnished home. As soon as we entered, Sarah pulled me onto the sofa, took alcohol pads from the first aid kit, and carefully cleaned the tiny scratch Vanessa's nail had left on my cheek. Her touch was light and soft, her eyes full of distress. "Does it still hurt?" she asked softly. I shook my head, looking at her focused profile. My nose stung, and the grievances and pain accumulated over 7 years seemed to find an outlet in this moment. I grabbed her hand, my voice a little hoarse. "Sarah, thank you. And I'm sorry you had to see such an ugly scene." Sarah put down the cotton pad, held my hand back, and looked at me seriously. "Lucas, between us, there's no need for sorry. I only feel heartache that you were drained by such a person for 7 whole years." Looking into her sincere and clear eyes, a huge wave of warmth surged in my heart. I decided to confess everything. The shadows coiled deep in my heart, the past I had never told anyone. I took a deep breath and began. The first month we were together, it was her birthday. She had a designer bag worth over $1,000. I had just started working and didn't have much savings, so I hesitated. She saw it. She didn't ask for it directly. Instead, she took my hand, looked at me with that worshipful gaze, and said, "Lucas, I think a man looks so handsome when he spends money on the woman he loves. It's not just a bag. It's your love and value for me." In the end, I maxed out my credit card and bought her that bag. She was happy, and I felt satisfied too. From then on, it became a pattern. Whatever she wanted, she never asked directly. She would put me on a pedestal first, praising me as considerate, responsible, and generous, then inadvertently mention how much she needed that thing to prove my love. From skincare products costing hundreds to watches costing thousands, I couldn't refuse a single time. When we moved in together, under the guise of being an independent woman who doesn't take advantage of men, she refused to split the rent, yet she lived in the apartment where I paid the full lease with a clear conscience. Citing insecurity, she deleted every female contact in my phone, yet kept intimate relationships surpassing friendship with her male best friends. She would audit my every expense, accusing me of wasting money, but her own bills flew into my phone like snowflakes, waiting for me to pay. My voice trembled as I spoke. What I couldn't accept the most was the year before last. She said her mother was sick and needed money urgently. She took $50,000 from me, money we had planned to use for a down payment on a house. She swore she would pay me back soon. Later, I found out her mother was perfectly healthy. She took that money and put it into some so-called high-return investment fund and lost it all. She cried and apologized, saying she just wanted to make more money to give us a better future. And I actually comforted her, told her not to blame herself. That money could be earned again. Sarah listened quietly, her brows furrowing tighter and tighter, her eyes full of anger and pain for me. She squeezed my hand tighter, as if offering silent support. I exhaled a long, turbid breath, as if expelling all the suffocation of the past 7 years. Sarah, I used to think loving someone meant giving without reservation. I thought my tolerance and patience would be exchanged for her maturity and appreciation. It wasn't until 6 months ago, when she proposed a breakup, that I suddenly realized. In her eyes, I wasn't a lover. I was just a tool to satisfy her material needs and emotional validation, an ATM to pay for all her selfish behaviors. Sarah remained silent for a long time after listening. Then, she looked up, her eyes red. Lucas, you weren't wrong. She was the one who was wrong. Her selfishness and greed. You were just too kind, too loyal. She reached out and hugged me gently. It's all in the past. Getting rid of someone like that is the best luck you could have. For now on, you have me. Leaning on her shoulder, smelling the fresh scent on her, I felt an unprecedented relaxation and peace. The mountain that had crushed my heart for 7 years was finally, completely lifted. The next day, the storm arrived as expected. Video clips of Vanessa's tantrum at the party, along with screenshots of her post being debunked by evidence, went viral in the company's work chats. Marketing director Vanessa Page's image collapse became the biggest topic of conversation. The PR and HR departments of Vanessa's company noticed the massive volume of negative comments online and quickly launched an internal investigation. After all, the personal image of a brand marketing director is directly tied to the company's reputation. Sarah, utilizing her years of connections and experience in media, cleverly guided public opinion. She contacted several familiar bloggers and shifted the focus from a simple couple's messy breakup to a discussion on social issues like emotional gaslighting, workplace manipulation, and financial exploitation in relationships. Suddenly, Vanessa became the poster child for the vampire girlfriend, selfish and exploitative. Meanwhile, with the help of a lawyer, I had organized all the evidence. This included, but was not limited to, transfer records for luxury goods purchased for Vanessa over 7 years, payments for her massive credit card bills, details of money she borrowed for various reasons but never returned, and most importantly, the transfer receipt for the $50,000 intended for the house that she embezzled for her failed investment. A lawsuit was officially filed with the court. The moment Vanessa received the subpoena, she completely snapped. She called me immediately. Her voice was no longer hysterical like the night before, but filled with icy malice. Lucas, you actually dare to sue me? Do you really want to burn every bridge? I put the phone on speaker and hit record, my tone calm and rippling. I just want back what belongs to me. Vanessa, paying back debts is a law of nature. Belongs to you? I gave you 7 years. Is my youth not worth money? You're counting pennies with me now. Do you have a conscience? She roared on the other end. If you think your youth can be quantified, you can also sue me in court and see if the law supports it. I responded coldly. You, Vanessa choked, unable to speak, then let out a cold laugh. Lucas, don't get cocky. You think having a woman back you up makes you safe? I'm telling you, if you dare continue, I'll take you down with me. If I suffer, don't think you'll have it easy. Is that so? I'm waiting. I hung up directly, then packaged the recording full of threats and sent it to my lawyer. Vanessa didn't stop there. She began using her connections to pressure me. She found her male best friend, Mr. Sterling, a rich kid with some family background, and asked him to mediate. Tyler Sterling called me, his tone arrogant, hinting that I should be forgiving and not ruin my future over a little money. I didn't waste breath on him. I just sent him a recording. It was a conversation where Vanessa cried to me, confessing that Tyler was the one who egged her on to make that high-risk investment and promised to cover her losses. There was silence on the other end of the line. A few seconds later, Tyler hurriedly said, "This has nothing to do with me," and hung up. At the same time, Vanessa's situation at her company became increasingly difficult. The internal investigation results were extremely unfavorable, and colleagues exposed some of her behaviors where she used her position for personal gain. Several important partnership projects she was in charge of were urgently halted or reassigned because clients had doubts about her personal image and professional ethics. Her boss had a long talk with her, implying heavily that she needed to take full responsibility for the negative impact she brought to the company. Her job was hanging by a thread. Lawsuit, career, reputation. Vanessa found that everything she once took pride in was collapsing at an unstoppable speed. She was cornered on all sides. When a wall is about to fall, everyone gives it a push. Vanessa soon learned the true meaning of that phrase. At the office, subordinates and colleagues who used to flatter her now avoided her like the plague. In meetings, no one seconded her opinions anymore. At lunch, she sat alone in the corner. No one wanted to share a table with her. She was completely isolated. With work becoming a struggle, she tried to seek comfort and support from her old girl squad. She created a group chat, crying about her grievances, accusing me of being heartless and Sarah of being evil. However, the group remained dead silent. No one replied. After a long time, only her closest friend DM'd her, "Nessa, honestly, it seems like you were in the wrong this time. We all saw how Lucas treated you. You should take care of yourself." After saying that, the friend left the group chat they had maintained for years. Then, one by one, others followed. The once lively sisterhood group soon contained only her. Her biggest hope, the male best friend, Tyler Sterling, did a complete 180-degree turn after learning I was taking legal action and had evidence of his shady dealings with Vanessa. Vanessa called him, demanding to know why he wouldn't help. His voice was as cold as a stranger's. "Vanessa, this is a private matter between you and Lucas. I don't want to get dragged into it. I'm warning you, Lucas is tougher and smarter than you think. I can't afford that trouble. Deal with it yourself." Without letting Vanessa say another word, he hung up. When she called back, it went straight to voicemail. She had been blocked. The man who once made endless promises, saying he would take her to see higher levels of life, kicked her aside without hesitation the moment crisis struck. Vanessa felt an unprecedented loneliness and despair. Her charm, which she prided herself on, and the network she carefully cultivated were fragile and weak in the face of real conflict of interest. The final straw that broke her came from her family. Her scandal finally reached the ears of her parents back in Ohio. Her mother called, offering no comfort, just a barrage of scolding. "Vanessa, how could you be so stupid? Lucas was such a good kid, gave you his heart and soul. And this is how you treat him? Now look at this mess. It's all over town. You've completely embarrassed the family. Your brother has an engagement party coming up. Where are we supposed to put our faces? You fix your own mess. Don't expect us to clean up after you." The phone clicked off. Vanessa collapsed onto the cold floor, wailing, abandoned by everyone. She never thought that term would apply to her. On my side, it was a different scene. Because I handled the incident with composure and measure, the company executives actually looked at me with new respect, viewing me as talent capable of maintaining rationality and professionalism under pressure. Sarah also formally took me to visit her parents. They were reasonable intellectuals. After learning the full story from Sarah, they didn't hold any prejudice against me. Instead, they appreciated me even more. Her mother held my hand, saying with heartache, "Child, you've suffered these past years. From now on, treat this place as your own home." Seeing their warm smiles and feeling Sarah holding my hand tightly, I felt no thrill of revenge, only the relief of surviving a disaster and a hope filled to the brim for the future. On the day of the court hearing, the weather was gloomy. I wore a crisp black suit, sitting at the plaintiff's table, my expression calm, my back straight. Sarah sat in the front row of the gallery, looking at me with gentle determination. In the defendant's seat, Vanessa's mental state was poor. She wore heavy makeup to try and cover her haggardness and pallor, but her bloodshot eyes and slightly trembling hands betrayed her inner panic. The trial began. My lawyer, an experienced woman in her 50s, began to present evidence to the judge methodically. "Your Honor, this is a summary of credit card bills paid by my client, Mr. Lucas Cole, for the defendant, Ms. Vanessa Page, during their 7-year relationship. The total amount exceeds $78,000. These are the transfer records for various luxury goods purchased by Mr. Cole for Ms. Page, including but not limited to designer bags, watches, and jewelry, totaling over $50,000. These are chat logs and transfer receipts where Ms. Page borrowed money from Mr. Cole under various pretenses such as mother is sick, brother buying a house, or personal turnover totaling $35,000, none of which has been repaid. The most critical item is this $50,000. There are clear chat records proving Ms. Page claimed it was for a family emergency, but in reality, she misappropriated this down payment fund for a high-risk investment, resulting in a total loss. The lawyer also played the recording of Vanessa threatening me on the phone, as well as testimonies from several mutual friends regarding Vanessa's overly intimate relationship with Mr. Sterling during her relationship with me. The chain of evidence was complete, clear, and irrefutable. Every piece of evidence presented was like a sledgehammer smashing into Vanessa. Her face grew uglier, her body shrinking into itself. Her lawyer tried to argue from the angle of voluntary gifts in a romantic relationship and shared consumption, but was quickly rebutted by my lawyer one by one. May I ask the defense counsel, letting the male partner pay all rent and living expenses while contributing nothing personally, is that called shared consumption? Can funds obtained through deception be defined as voluntary gifts? Under the relentless questioning, Vanessa's emotions spiraled out of control again. She suddenly stood up, pointed at me, and screamed hoarsely, "Judge, this is revenge. He hates me. 7 years of feelings. How could he treat me like this? He's heartless. Order." The judge banged the gavel, sternly stopping her farce. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up. I didn't look at Vanessa. Instead, I spoke calmly to the judge. "Your Honor, I used to believe in love, and I was willing to give everything for the person I loved. I stand here today not to seek revenge on anyone, nor to settle emotional scores. I simply want to prove a principle. Love is not a fig leaf for one party to ruthlessly exploit and deceive the other. Once trust is trampled upon, a price must be paid. Otherwise, it is the greatest injustice to kindness." When I finished, the courtroom was silent. The judge looked at me, a trace of approval in his eyes. The trial ended, with a verdict to be announced later. But everyone knew I had already won. Vanessa walked out of the courtroom looking like a lost soul, like a defeated rooster. Outside, reporters who had been waiting swarmed her, flashes blinding and microphones almost poking her face. "Ms. Page, what is your explanation for embezzling your boyfriend's housing fund? Is your relationship with Mr. Sterling really as described in court? Do you admit to gaslighting and financially exploiting Lucas Cole for 7 years?" Forced back by the sharp questions, Vanessa covered her face in a panic and fled in chaos. Her world, on this day, in front of everyone, completely collapsed. The court's judgment came down quickly. The result was no surprise. Vanessa was ordered to fully return the $35,000 she took under the guise of borrowing and compensate for the full loss of the $50,000 investment fund she misappropriated. Additionally, due to her threats and defamation after the breakup causing me emotional distress, she had to pay an extra sum for damages. All in all, she owed me over $100,000. This verdict was like a boulder, shattering Vanessa's delusions. On the day the judgment was published, the executives at her company held an emergency meeting. Given that Vanessa's personal scandal had caused irreversible damage to the brand's image and business, the meeting unanimously decided immediate termination of Vanessa Page, cancellation of all contracts, with no severance. When the HR director placed the cold termination letter in front of her, she froze at first, then burst into sharp, manic laughter. She went crazy, trashing the director's office she had once been so proud of. Expensive perfumes, stacks of files, ornaments from clients. Everything she once cherished was smashed to the floor by her own hands, turning into debris. She tried to fight back, screaming that she would sue for wrongful termination. But the company's legal department was ready, laying out evidence of her violating company policies and damaging company interests, leaving her speechless. In the end, security dragged her out of the skyscraper she had strived for years to inhabit. I was picking out curtains for our new home with Sarah when I heard the news from a colleague. I didn't feel the excitement or vindication I had imagined. Instead, my heart was unusually calm. It was just an inevitable result. It was the price she had to pay for her greed and selfishness. Vanessa's firing caused quite a stir in the industry. Her reputation was ruined. She became a textbook case of what not to be. Almost no company dared to hire a brand manager with such serious ethical stains and legal disputes. Her career came to an abrupt halt. Losing her high-paying job and burdened with massive debt, Vanessa's life fell from the clouds straight into the mud. She tried contacting Tyler Sterling again, hoping he would help her for old time's sake. She found that not only had he blocked her number, but he had also scrubbed her from every app, Venmo, LinkedIn, everything. That man avoided her like the plague. She finally understood that when she lost her utility, she was nothing. With Vanessa's issues resolved, Sarah and I formally put our wedding on the schedule. We went wedding dress shopping together. The moment Sarah stepped out in that white gown, I stared dazed. She smiled and asked, "Does it look good?" I nodded heavily. "Beautiful. You look good in anything." We designed the invitations together, picked the wedding venue together, and tasted the reception menu together. For every detail, Sarah seriously sought my opinion, respecting every one of my thoughts. "This is our wedding. Of course, we both have to like it," she said. This feeling of being respected and cherished was something I had never experienced in the past 7 years. The colleagues at the company, after learning the truth, were genuinely happy for us. Mike and the guys even organized a bachelor party for me, sincerely wishing me happiness. Sarah's parents treated me like a son, often inviting us over for dinner. Her dad would pull me into a game of chess or share a scotch while discussing the news. Her mom would cook up a storm, reminding me to watch my health no matter how busy work got. That warm, harmonious family atmosphere gave me, someone who had been grinding on my own for years, a long-lost sense of belonging. Once, I accompanied Sarah to the hospital for a premarital checkup. On a bench in the lobby, I thought I saw a familiar figure. The person was wearing a washed-out old coat, hair dry and yellow, face haggard, head bowed, focusing on a phone, with no one around. It was Vanessa. She looked even more destitute than she had in court, a completely different person from the brand director in my memory, who was always polished and proud as a peacock. She seemed to sense my gaze and looked up instinctively. The moment our eyes met, panic, resentment, jealousy, and unwillingness tangled in her eyes. But my heart remained still. I simply withdrew my gaze, took Sarah's hand, and whispered, "Let's go. Time for the next test." We walked past her as if passing an insignificant stranger. That night, lying in our new bed, we talked about future plans. After the wedding, "How about we go to Iceland to see the Northern Lights?" Sarah suggested. "Deal. What about work? Any new plans? Your boss seems to value you highly." "Yeah, the company is preparing to open a new division, and they want me to run it." "That's great. You got this." Sarah happily kissed my cheek. "Once we're settled, should we think about a baby? I want a daughter with bright eyes like yours." I pulled her tightly into my arms, feeling the softness and warmth of her body, my heart filled with anticipation for the future. The darkness of those past 7 years felt like a long, oppressive nightmare. And now, I was finally awake. I was welcoming a brand new, sun-drenched life. Vanessa didn't disappear completely as I had thought. Under immense financial pressure and psychological disparity, her mental state became increasingly unstable. She started selling off the luxury goods she once treated as treasures, but that money was a drop in the bucket against her debt. She tried to find new work, but her story was well known in the circle. She even applied for basic sales jobs, only to be rejected due to her overqualified resume and now terrible reputation. In her despair, she directed all her resentment onto Sarah and me. She believed we had ruined everything for her. Upon learning we were about to hold our wedding, the jealousy and unwillingness in her heart turned into a vicious flame. She decided to exact a final revenge. She wanted to ruin our wedding, ruin our happiness. Late one night, a week before the wedding, she used a spare key she had secretly copied when we lived together to sneak into my and Sarah's new home. She carried a bucket of red paint, ready to turn our carefully decorated sanctuary into a disaster zone. But what she didn't know was that after everything, I had long since kept my guard up. After the breakup, I changed the locks, and the security system in our new home was designed by me, including the latest infrared alarms and HD surveillance. The moment she picked the lock and stepped into the foyer, a piercing alarm shrieked through the building. Almost simultaneously, my phone and the building security received the intrusion alert. When security and the police arrived, Vanessa was standing there holding a paint bucket, frozen and bewildered. The surveillance video clearly captured the entire process of her breaking and entering, caught red-handed. Sarah and I rushed to the police station overnight. Seeing Vanessa handcuffed to a chair, hair messy, face streaked with tears, I felt no anger, only a deep exhaustion and pity. She looked at me, her eyes filled with desperate hatred. "Lucas, if I can't have a good life, don't think you will either. I curse you. You'll never be happy." I ignored her curses and simply said to the officer, "Officer, I think this might be a misunderstanding. For the sake of her being my ex-girlfriend, I don't want to press charges this time." Vanessa froze, looking at me in disbelief. I spoke to her calmly. "Vanessa, this is the last time, for the sake of those 7 years. From now on, you're on your own. If you harass me or my family again, I promise, you will pay a price you cannot bear." With that, I took Sarah's hand and turned to leave the station. I didn't look back, but I could hear the sound of Vanessa's suppressed, completely broken sobbing behind me. That was the sound of all her pride, all her fantasies, and all her hope shattering completely. She finally understood that she had lost everything and had no chips left to play. From then on, She truly, completely disappeared from my world. On a sunny weekend, Sarah and I held our wedding as scheduled. The ceremony was on a seaside lawn, decorated warmly and romantically, filled with white roses and flowing chiffon. Family and friends all came, their faces wearing sincere blessings and smiles. I stood at the end of the aisle, watching Sarah take her father's arm, wearing a pure white wedding dress, walking toward me step by step. The sunlight caught her veil, creating a golden halo. She looked like an angel descended to earth, unreal in her beauty. My eyes grew damp in that moment. I knew I had found the woman worth spending my life with, worth protecting and cherishing with all my strength. Witnessed by everyone, we exchanged rings and made our vows. When Sarah read hers, her voice choked up slightly. She said, "Lucas, thank you. Thank you for your bravery, your sincerity, your kindness. Thank you for not giving up on the light, even after walking through darkness. Thank you for making me believe that beautiful love really exists in this world." When it was my turn, I looked into her eyes and solemnly promised, "Sarah, from this day forward, I will spend the rest of my life guarding your smile and sharing your sorrows. Wherever I am, that is your home. I love you." We embraced deeply amidst rapturous applause and cheers. Life after marriage was ordinary and sweet. We traveled together, curled up on the couch to watch movies, and experimented with new recipes in the kitchen. We would bicker over small things, but always make up within 5 minutes, laughing as we hugged. My career in a new division flourished. With outstanding performance, I quickly gained a firm footing and recognition from the entire company. 1 year later, on a warm afternoon, Sarah placed a medical report in front of me. It read, "Intrauterine pregnancy, 6 weeks." I stared at those words, stunned for a long time, before sweeping Sarah up into a hug and spinning wildly around the living room. I was leveled up. I was going to be a dad. I felt the responsibility of a husband and future father, but even more, I felt an unprecedented, overflowing happiness and joy. I knew deep down that the pain and struggle of the past, the unwillingness and anger, had all become the deepest footnotes of my life. Precisely because I had walked through that long darkness, I understood even more how hard-won this light was. I had finally walked completely out of the past gloom, welcoming my eternal, sincere love and new life. Story complete.